All right, guys, it looks like spring has sprung and I'm trying to get a head start on the new year. So I have got lots of tables and chairs behind me and I need to clean them up. Some of them I'm going to sell, some I'm going to keep. Let's see what we got. All of them have some degree of algae on them. And I think on this one, that is not a white back. That's just algae that's gotten on there. These are the 4 chairs I'm keeping, and the reason why is because they always end up rusting along the bottom. And these are by far the best, with this one having a little bit of rust here. But on the front side, they look really good along the bottom and along the sides. And that's what happens. They always end up pinching the screen, and water runs down and gets into that groove and sits and causes them to rust. But you can see all of them the same way. It's never along the top. It's only along the bottom where the water can get in there and sit.
Well, hello, I'm Ben, your host, and this is a DIY Homefront channel. Thanks for watching the video, and if you like it, think about subscribing or even leave a comment.
That's probably the worst one out of these chairs. And then you do end up, along with this this green algae that you get, along with that green algae that you get, you also get the little white, I want to say lichens. This is my chair. This is one that started all. I really like it, but you can see it has just gotten bad. And it was getting to the point where it was snagging my clothes, and I went back with a hot glue gun. And you can glue over the rust spots to keep them from snagging on your clothes, but it's not going to keep them from rusting. On this chair, do you see the way it's got a support right there? Sometimes when you're sitting in a chair, you can really feel it, especially on these kind of chairs. Some of them will have a support that runs right here, and you feel like you're sitting on the bar the whole time you're in the chair. I really don't like it. The tables are holding up really good too. They don't have any rust on them, but they are starting to get the little lichens everywhere. I hope that shows up. Can you see? Let's see if I can bring out all those little white specks are lichens. Well, hopefully a quick zap with a pressure washer, and I'll go back with a drill and a wire brush and clean all the rusted metal off. And I'll put another coat of paint over the rust, and hopefully that'll get them gone. Well, I have put quite a few hours on this Craftsman pressure washer, and I'm going to be going with the 40-degree tip on it. And all I can say about pressure washers is the more you use them, the better they last. If they don't get used, you end up getting scale and water deposits in that manifold down there, and then they just don't want to work. But I've had really good luck with this thing. So let's start it up.
So some of the tricks I use when I'm cleaning things is, first of all, I've got this old rug I pull out, and I pressure wash everything on this rug. And the main reason why I do that is because I can move the chair around, turn it on its side. I can spray whatever I want to spray, and I don't have to worry about any of the dirt, the leaves, or the ground kicking back up on top of it. Now, I could do all this pressure washing on the driveway, but eventually I'll end up with a bunch of marks from the pressure washer on the driveway, and then I'll be pressure washing the driveway. So like I said, I like to take this rug out and use it because it just makes it a lot easier. Well, it doesn't seem like it matters which chair I'm cleaning. The pollen and algae builds up on the back of the chairs, and the lichens build up on the sunny side. But I will clean all these off, and the only place I'm really going to hold the one extremely close to the chair is where there's any rust, because I'm just going to try to blast any flake and rust away before I get the wire wheel to it. Well, as you can see, there's quite a few chairs, and it doesn't take too long with the pressure washer to get them all cleaned up. The only thing I have left to do now is clean up the 2 tables, and then I can go ahead and start working on the rust.
Well, there you go. There's quite a bit of pressure washing done. I'll be really curious to see how these tables and chairs turn out. And there's 1 or 2 areas on these tables that need to be lightly sanded and touched up. And it's funny, I do these all at the same time, but for whatever reason, you can see a lot of paint came off of this one. But fortunately, there's a really good coat of paint underneath it. So it's not like it's bare metal or anything. And we'll go back and we'll clean up all the rust we can with a wire wheel and get all that stuff off of it. And then we'll go back and we will repaint all these. And then they'll be listed on Facebook Marketplace. Well, there we go. I had to get in the shade so I could see all right. You might be wondering why take the time to pressure wash and clean off all the rust and repaint these chairs if I'm just going to list them on Facebook Marketplace. Well, the thing is, I don't know if they're going to sell. And if they don't, I've got two brothers with two porches that could use some tables and chairs. And if I'm going to give them to my brothers, I sure would like them to be nice. So there you have it. But we'll keep updating as the progress goes on. It'll probably be a day before I get to these. I want to make sure the water that's on all those crevices ends up drying all the way up. All of these chairs will need a little bit of touching up, but they vary in degree on how much touching up they'll need. So let me show you where the stages are and how much work it might take. Some of the chairs have a few spots that are pitted, and that's about it. So they'll just need to be taken a wire wheel to and cleaned up and repainted. All of them have the same issue. The rain runs down and gets in between where this metal's folded over and they rust a little bit. But once you take a wire wheel to them and knock this all smooth and hit it with some sandpaper, it's just fine. Now, I do all the chairs at the same time, and for whatever reason, sometimes I get varied differences. Like this chair, almost all the black is flaking off. Don't know why, but I will probably have to do a little bit more work to this chair. It's not rusting any more or any less than the rest of them. Basically just towards the bottom. For whatever reason, the paint's peeling off of the armrest. And you can see wherever it's been painted, I will go back and touch up. This one is the same way too. The armrests look great, but it has one little spot in the back. And our third one over there, the armrests were peeling on it. So out of those 4 chairs, 2 of the armrests were peeling and the rest of them were really relatively good. I always struggle this time of day because of the lighting. The sun's coming across and it's bright in one area and dark in another. But I think over here in the corner, you can see what we're doing. And like I said, there's just 1 or 2 spots that need some touching up.
Now the first thing I did is I touched everything up with some rusty metal primer before going back over it with this gloss black enamel.
And I only did that on these 4 chairs. Now the paint will probably look shiny and you'll probably notice that it's been touched up for about a month. But after that, a little bit of rain, a little bit of pollen, and you'll never know the difference between a spot that was touched up and a spot that wasn't touched up.
Well, as crazy as it seems, I own 3 of the wrought iron tables and 20 chairs of different styles. And I'm going to put 1 of the round tables and 4 of these chairs in my wife's garden, which leaves 2 tables and 8 chairs for Facebook Marketplace.
Alright, well these have 2 coats of black paint on everything that needed to be touched up, and I went ahead and put 2 coats of black paint on all the armrests, just so they would be uniform. Now if there is any overspray or anything else, like I said, give it a month, some pollen, some rain, and you'll never know which chair was touched up or where it was touched up at. Some places the paint's just literally peeling off of the metal, and then in other places you actually have a little bit of damage. I don't know how well it shows up. That's the reason why I'm showing it 2 or 3 times. And this is what I do to fix it. The only thing I know you can do.
And that is taking a wire wheel and putting it on my drill and going over all the areas that have any rust. I want to just work that metal until it's bare and shiny and there's no rust or paint on top of it, because I'm going to cover all that up with fresh paint. And I know there's nothing I can do about the fact that the rust is going to come back sooner or later, But I've had these chairs for about 10 years and they have really held up well, and I just really want to stop that rust right where it's at. Because whether somebody buys this off of me from Facebook Marketplace or I give it to my brothers, I'd like this furniture to last a long time for the new owners. And I'm going to do this same thing to all the chairs. So let's move on to the painting. Well, here you can see we have one of the chairs, and it's missing some of the paint along the top and also has a few rust spots. And I'm going to do the same thing to all the chairs. I'll start by cleaning them all off with some ammonia glass cleaner and a blue shop towel. I'll make sure I get all of this chair wiped down, not just where I had some of the rusty spots, especially when it comes to the legs and the backs. And the spray paint that I'm going to use to paint these chairs is that gloss black from Rust-Oleum. And I'm going to shake that up for about 5 minutes like the direction says, and give the ammonia glass cleaner a minute to dry up, and then I'll just go at it full speed. Now for all the chairs, I focused in on where the rust was and made sure I covered that, but I also decided to go ahead and just paint the whole chair. And I ended up putting 2 coats of paint on each chair, and that was basically 1 full can of the spray paint. Well, the directions on the paint can say to put light coats of paint on and give it about 15 to 20 minutes in between to dry. But I probably put more of a medium to a heavy coat of paint on each time, but I waited a full 20 minutes before I put the second coat on. I made sure that the first coat was sort of dry to the touch. I could actually touch the paint and I wouldn't have anything on my hands. Alright, well here is the second coat of spray paint going on, and I just kept spraying until the can was empty. Well, the round tables really only had 2 areas that needed to be touched up, and that was along the outer edge and on that center ring that helps support the legs. Both of the round tables had similar rust around this ring, but they're both taken care of now. Now when it was time to paint the 2 tables, I had a quart container of Rust-Oleum gloss black paint, so I used a paintbrush and that to paint the 2 tables, just because it's a lot less wasteful of paint to paint the top with a brush than it is with a spray can. Well, my method for painting the tops of these tables is I put a lot of paint on the paintbrush and make sure I get the top completely done. And then I go from underneath and end up using a brush to wipe away any drips of excess paint. Now if anybody's wondering about my painting technique where I have one hand in my pocket most of the time, I'm actually cheating. I've got a bad back and I'm actually using my hand to help support my upper body weight when I lean over. It's a trick or a habit I got into that I just never have stopped. But a lot of times when I have one hand in my pocket, it's to help support my upper body weight. Alright, well here is the finished product, and these are the pictures that I posted on Facebook Marketplace. I pressure washed everything, took care of the rust the best I could, and everything's got a fresh coat of paint. Well, whoever ends up with these tables and chairs, they're going to have a good product no matter what. Well, thanks for watching, like and subscribe, check out my playlist, and I'll see you in that next video.